to lose? How does this nightmare set you free?
Hello everyone and welcome to the very first episode of Constantine Discussions. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And Eric is joining me to talk about Constantine because he knows a bunch of stuff about Hellblazer and John Constantine. I guess here in a second we'll get the whole Constantine thing out of the way. But I was really stoked when this show was announced, partly because I really liked the Constantine movie a lot when that came out back in the mid-2000s. And I thought that if this was anything like that, I would probably really enjoy it. And I knew that Eric was a huge fan of this character, and if the show was any good at all, I was like, yay, Eric's going to finally get his John Constantine show. That's pretty cool. And so Eric agreed to do this with me. It's me and Eric now on two shows, Constantine, and Arrow. And let's go ahead and jump straight into it. As always, we're going to do this with the very same format that we do all the other discussion shows, so feel free to leave comments, and at the beginning of the next episode, we will talk about your questions and comments. Obviously, we're not going to open this one with that, because this is the first one, and nobody's left any comments yet. Okay, somebody probably...
We could have left comments from the leaked pilot.
Somebody, that's true, but we didn't do a show on that, and, you know...
Which I will discuss.
Somebody probably just now left a comment, but we haven't seen it yet, because you know, we're not actually online, even though you're... Anyway, so, Eric... Let's go ahead and jump straight into things, shall we? Some general overview.
Do you want to talk about the name thing?
Yeah. Let's go ahead and start there. Obviously, for the sake of this, I'm going to call him Constantine because that's what he's called in the show.
I am going to do my best to not jump back and forth. I'm going to do my best to say Constantine. I'm used to saying Constantine because that's his name. If you ever read the comics, multiple times he corrects people and says that it's Constantine, it rhymes with a line, and anytime somebody says Constantine in the comics, it's always written E-E-N, and it makes them look dumb.
I know this is going to be one of those things where some folks that are a big fan of this character are going to wish we would call him that, but in the show, he's called Constantine, that's the name of the character. It's just like the Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul thing. If I'm talking Nolan films, I'm going to call him Ra's al Ghul, that's what he's called there.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to say Constantine.
In this, yes.
Let's say Constantine.
So, I have two questions for you right out the gate before we jump into just talking about the episode proper. The first is, how does the especially like the major story elements in Constantine's background compare to the Vertigo comics? And secondly, how does this? What are the differences between this and the leaked pilot? Because I didn't see it.
The differences between the leaked pilot are almost negligible.
Okay.
When Demon John shows up in the original pilot, it was just a demon. It was not John.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think that at the end there's the girl that does all the paintings. I don't believe that was there either. And because I haven't seen this since May when it leaked. I only watched it once. And I want to say there was a greater implication that John was going to go with the girl in this episode, whereas in the pilot, it's much more clear that he got her off the bat.
Oh, you mean that she might have stayed with him?
Yeah. Well, you know how they do the thing where there's all the things across the country?
Yeah.
It was kind of implied, as I recall from the original pilot, that that's what the show was going to be, was the two of them traveling cross-country.
I was really surprised that she's not...
Well, the three of them, because I assumed Chaz would be there.
Yeah, I was really surprised that she leaves at the end.
Well, that was a change. I know for a fact she was supposed to be a supporting cast member, and they changed it, and there's going to be another character that's going to show up. I don't know when, but there's another woman named Zed that's going to show up, and she's going to fill that role, kind of.
Eric, they did an amazing job of making that a story element that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a last-minute change, because, I mean, especially if there was a leaked pilot before they changed it, because the whole idea through this whole thing is that everybody who's around him gets killed, and then she picks up on this and understands it at the end and leaves, and what he's been trying to do is keep her alive the whole time. So, boy, having seen it and having liked all that, I have a hard time imagining it any other way now. I don't know how much sense it makes the other direction, unless they played it like she's damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. Like she needs him to protect her. But
there's a bit more following their father's Father's Footsteps stuff.
Okay, cool. So, how much like Hellblazer comics is this?
Well, you were specifically asking about the origin, which is exactly his origin from the comics.
Is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, him and his friends go to Newcastle, and they're having a party, and they're doing spells because they're so cool. And there's this girl that gets possessed by a demon. John tries to summon another demon to draw that demon out of her, and she gets sent to hell. And then he goes crazy and commits himself to the Ravencroft Institute. Is it Ravencroft? No, Ravencroft is Spider-Man.
That's Spider-Man.
Is it? Yeah, okay. Whatever institute it is, that's the institute from the comics. What's changed is it seems like John has already been John for a while when this happens, whereas in the comics, that's something that happened a number of years ago.
Oh, okay.
So that's changed. Obviously, the plot isn't anything from the comics. I still think the first 2 issues would make an amazing pilot for a TV show, but there's a lot of elements there from the comics. Nergal, they mentioned Nergal. He's big in the Jamie Delano stuff. Demon Constantine comes from the Jamie Delano comics.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, there's and the character I said that's going to show up later, Zed. She's from the Jamie Delano run. I was surprised because everyone talks about the Garth Ennis run. That's kind of the definitive run of the book. This all seems to be drawing from those first 30 issues from Jamie Delano.
Well, and I'm sure that if the show gets to go for very long, you'll see later stuff. The thing I am most excited about myself watching this is not knowing anything. I'm really enjoying not I have thought about finally delving into Hellblazer stuff for years, and I still want to, but now I kind of want to wait till the show is over because I watch so many of these comic book related shows. And with Flash, I don't know as much because I don't know that, but this is a character I know nothing about except for the movie, and that was a one and done thing. So there's plenty of other things outside of it, and there was a ton of stuff changed in that. So I'm gonna learn a lot from you doing this, but and so I'm sure that you'll tell me some stuff, and I'll be like, oh, okay, so now I know a little bit more than I would have. But I don't know. It's really kind of fun to get it all up front and without knowing the source material. And I think that it is definitely a show that is doing a really good job of not just being for fans of that show, and rightly so, because it's a small enough thing you can't do it like that.
Exactly. And there's elements of the movie in there, too, that aren't from the comics.
I was really surprised by... The big one I noticed was the demons... Was his line about how the demons don't usually come out in the open.
Yeah, which I think is a different implication in the movie. In the movie, it's they do not come to Earth. Here, it seems to be that they're less flashy. The other big one I noticed was... well, there's 2. The other big one is the lights turning off.
Yeah.
That's the thing that happens a bunch in the movies. And then the way she has her, psychic awakening, in the movie they made John psychic, which I was glad they didn't do here. But the way her psychicness happens is very similar to how it happens in the Constantine movie.
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot that he was psychic in the movie. I liked that he wasn't in this. That was cool.
Well, and I mean, the thing with the grandma is very similar to the scene on the bus in the Constantine movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's stuff from the movie too, which I like the movie, so I didn't have a problem with that.
I hope the cat thing comes back. That was something from the movie I really liked. They're half in, half out anyway. Half out. Yeah. All that really weird, fun, quirky stuff is here, and I think that the best thing about the show right out the gate, in getting me into this world and getting me excited about it, is that it is completely embracing its weirdness.
Oh, absolutely.
It knows exactly what it wants to be. It's not afraid of itself. It's a really confidently made show. And it's, so that coupled with the fact that Constantine seems fully drawn. I completely understand this character right out the gate. He's a tragic kind of character. I'm really latching on to, and so Eric, I'm gonna probably say a few things where you're going to be like, well, I knew all this about this character already, but some of this is just going to be me reacting to this character. I really like the idea of you got a guy who was on a path of redemption in the first place because he blamed himself for something that wasn't really his fault, and then he accidentally...
So it's kind of totally his fault.
Oh, really?
He summons a demon.
No, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. He summons that demon in his attempt at making up for something that wasn't his fault in the first place with his his mother getting killed. And he blames himself for that because his father gave him a psychosis. Which is really important because this is a thing I always used to complain about, and I don't mean to just Smallville bash again, but this is the best comparison I can make. Smallville, you always had like Clark Kent blames himself for the meteor shower, even though he couldn't possibly have controlled that. Here, it's a psychosis brought on by a father that keeps blaming his son for his wife's death, even though obviously it wasn't his fault, he was a baby. But if you literally keep getting your head bashed in about that, you're gonna develop this insecurity about it. It's really sad. And so the big reason he's trying to get his mother's soul back is because he feels responsible for it, and then that leads him to actually do something that really is his fault. And then it looks like while he's on this path to redemption, he has the potential to keep doing things like that. And so like everybody, so like what do you do if you're this guy? You know, like you're trying to atone for your mistakes. People always say that you need to clean up your mess, but then in trying to do that, he keeps compounding the situation and creating more. That's instantly relatable, but it's also instantly a cool premise for an ongoing television series.
Which is different than the comics. If I remember correctly, the whole thing with his mom and his dad is from the comics. His dad did beat him and blame him for killing his mom, but there's no trying to get his mom back. There's not, like, that's all created for the TV show as clearly some kind of arc.
I'm digging that. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, it just seems like this guy is in this kind of like this perpetual domino effect. That like the only way he could stop hurting people is if he quit trying to help people. But then if he quits trying to help people, people need his help. And it opens with him trying to do that, right? Like in trying to get his brain chemistry changed. And it keeps coming back to him. He can't stop it. So I think he's instantly an interesting character. And he's really charismatic. He's a lot of fun, and that actor is super intense.
He's great. He's really, really good as John. I think one of the things that's most interesting about Hellblazer as a comic is that John is kind of the most consistent character in comics. Part of that is probably because it's mostly all runs. Like, people have multi-year runs on Hellblazer, or had. And everyone kind of... There's something about that character that everyone clicks into. Everyone's runs are kind of different, and they've got their own thing, and these runs are more magical than these runs, and things like that. John is an incredibly consistent character, and they tapped into that with the show. He sounds like John. There's a couple of lines that are a little too cool for school, but for the most part, he sounds like John.
There were a couple of things that, and I'm praising and I'm praising the show majorly when I say this because it for the most part didn't have this problem. So the ones that it had really jumped out at me. There's one place in particular that seemed really, really piloty to me, where Liv is trying to get him to tell her anything about himself, and that turns into throwing out his whole past, or at least the really major stuff. And I mean, like, it just seemed like he was too forthcoming right then.
Well, the thing where he talks about his mom, I thought made sense in that he was trying to give her something personal to calm her down.
But then it turned into...
She was in this really vulnerable spot, and so he opened up.
Yeah, and then it turned into exposition for the audience, which was handled in as good of a way as it possibly could, because we needed to know that. I have seen here and there a couple people complaining that the show is too fast-paced to get into the characters and to care about what's going on. I did not have that with it.
I didn't really... I think it's a little piloty. I definitely think it feels a little piloty. The the way Chaz comes in is really just kind of like, here's this character that's going to be around for the, you know, the rest of the.
I resisted that. Yeah.
I think the casting of Chaz is interesting because Chaz is a perpetually race-changing character. Some people draw him as like almost a black guy. Some people draw him as like a black guy. Some people draw him as a white guy. He's all over the place.
Interesting.
But I really hope that we get the Chaz stuff because Chaz is a major character in the comics who has a wife and kids, kind of like Watson. You know, like Watson moves away from Sherlock Holmes and like gets a wife and kids. He's very much like that, and his wife hates John because everything goes wrong about it with him.
Yeah. Is the whole thing about him like having some sort of magic powers that makes him able to resist anything killing him? Is that a comic book thing?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is yet.
I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be like an illusion or something. Because they don't explain it all. They're just like,
no,
things aren't what they seem.
Yeah, well, at first, I thought it was an illusion. And then watching it a second time, because she's like, there's no way you could come back from that. And it seems like if it was... I don't know why it would have been an illusion. I don't know what would have been causing that, what the point would have been of that. Why would a demon want her to think that guy had been killed? The way Constantine spins it, the way he explains it is like somehow that guy's just able to come back from things like that. And then, and I mean, I was really resisting it. I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm really confused. And then he says, I love this because it was for the audience. This is one of my favorite quotes. He says, if you're not confused, you're not paying attention. And I love that, because that is the show telling me, asking me to go with it and to trust it. And it's saying, don't worry, this will make sense. It is piloty in places, and it is less piloty in that it's not trying to cram so much in that it's not allowing itself to pay things like that off later. It goes, we know we're a TV show, we know we're gonna get more episodes, and for some reason he didn't feel the need to explain that to her right then. Now, what sucks about it is that she's gone now, so that line is completely for the audience. Right. Because she's never gonna know now, probably, unless she comes back at some point. But I really like that line, because everything this show does, especially the weird stuff that seems to make no sense, seems very intentional.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It definitely looks like there's probably some kind of series Bible that they meticulously planned out. This is how magic works in this world. This is how demons work. This is everything. I
get the sense that the show knows just what the rules are.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really exciting. I'm gonna go down some random notes. We can go back and forth. Do you have some notes?
Yeah, I've got a couple notes.
Let's go back and forth and do some general overview notes and just talk about whatever we want to talk about. At first I thought when he said flap off, I thought for sure he said the F word. And was like, I don't know how you got away with that on TV. And then I was tweeting and somebody was like, no, he said flap off, and I was like, well, that's how you get away with that, I guess. I imagine we'll hear him say that every episode.
Yeah.
Or a lot, because they can...
Watch. I guarantee you there's going to be like a British here that's like, no, that's just a common expression over here.
Oh, no, it probably is. But for American audiences, and importantly, this is an American show, I felt like they were doing that so they could sort of get away with F-bombs.
Can we talk about the America thing?
Can we? I don't like that it's set here. I don't like that at all. That is probably my biggest complaint so far. Two big things. The first is, nobody in Atlanta sounds like they're from Georgia. That's really weird to me. I'm just like, I mean, it's not as bad as like Smallville. People in Vancouver supposed to be in the Midwest, they say sorry. It's not that. But like, I know Atlanta's a big city, but I'm pretty sure that people in Atlanta, Georgia still sound like they're from the South at least a little bit. I don't know. But also, it was a good long time before I could even tell where we were. I didn't really understand why we had a stamp, unless I missed it, because I mean, I'm taking notes and stuff, but like we had a stamp that said where we were at the beginning when we were in England, and then
right.
I later on I had to see like a car or something that said Atlanta on it before I realized where we were. But this show is written enough like a BBC show that I really wish that we were in Europe.
Yeah, I do too, and it's weird because Chaz is there, and he goes and visits his friend that was at Newcastle, and they're just all in America.
They're all in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
Why are they all in this city? I think they were all in the same city, were they not?
I mean, I assume we just cut to John in an office.
There's a lot of I don't know where I am when, which again is really weird because we get a stamp that tells us where we are at the beginning at the Institute.
But yeah, John's been to America, and Chaz doesn't know what side of the road to drive on in the comics, but but yeah, it was. I think it's just weird because it feels like it should be in England. And I get the feeling that because they brought up Newcastle, and they've said in interviews that they're going to bring more of the Newcastle crew in, are they all just going to be in America, despite the fact that they're all British and all hung out in Newcastle?
Well, now, let's keep in mind, though, that the premise set up at the end of the episode is that there's all this stuff all over the place. So, I mean, I know it's all over America, but I get the sense that this is going to be a traveling kind of show.
I hope so, and John's done a bit of that in the comics. He's gone to multiple countries and locations and things like that, so I have no problem with that if it's a global globetrotting show, but just him covering America feels weird.
Yeah, that does feel weird. And my big question about it is, if this was set in Europe, isn't it the exact same show?
Yeah, we don't gain anything from this being set in America other than theoretically being more accessible to American audiences, but at this point, and I mean, everyone kind of said this from the trailer, and it's a little bit of this in the show, it's kind of like spooky Doctor Who. And yeah. Doctor Who's big now, and nobody has an issue with it being in England.
Well, and is it just because it's a show set on an American network, it has to be set in America? I don't know why, I don't understand that.
Well, I mean, with the movie, they wouldn't let him be British or be in England. He had to be American and in California.
But then here they're letting him be British. Why can't we have it set there? Or at the very least have, like make me, I don't mean to belabor this, but make me feel like there's no other place it could be. It's gotta be in Atlanta, Georgia, of all places. I don't imagine we're gonna stay there for too long. I mean, like although that is where, well, that's where all the major people are. So I guess we are gonna go there quite a bit. Whatever. I mean, because the other thing I thought of was maybe it's gotta be American because of some of the actors they wanted to use. But like Harold Perrineau is an angel. Why he could still be an American-sounding angel,
right?
Even if it's in Britain, it wouldn't matter. So I don't know. But that's what the and also, and this is neither here nor there. But like, okay, so we busted up the taxi, and at the moment that I was wondering if that was a illusion or not, I was like, okay, did we really bust up the taxi? I don't know what happened to the taxi. It looks like it's still busted up, so are we going to get another taxi, or is he just, was that just kind of a nod thing? Is that a comic book thing, the taxi?
Yep, he's a taxi driver.
Okay, so are we going to keep the taxi, or was that just a nod and we'll never see it again?
I don't know. In the comics, he's a taxi driver, but it'd be really weird for a taxi driver to be driving cross country.
That's just a thing I'm wondering about. Anyway, just throwing that out there. I like the horror stuff a lot, and part of it is, like, it's October, it's right before Halloween. They were really smart to put this out when they put it out.
Oh, absolutely.
I totally, it really scratched that itch for me, and it doesn't feel like anything else I'm watching. I mean, obviously, people are going to compare this to all the other comic books and superhero stuff that's on, regardless of other horror-ish stuff that's on, but, like, compared to all that other kind of stuff, it has a really unique feel. But even compared to other horror TV, it feels kind of unique to me.
Well, I mean, we only have the pilot.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
At least thus far, I feel like a lot of other shows just want to use kind of like supernaturally elements and monsters and things, but they don't want to be a horror show. They don't want to really be scary, except for maybe like the episodes where they're being scary. Even Buffy's like that. You know, you have a couple episodes of Buffy that are legitimately kind of scary. Everything else is just monster fighting. This show, at least based on the pilot, seems to want to be a horror show, which is good because it's a horror comic.
Even X-Files started to degenerate into that in the later seasons.
Right.
You know, they randomly have like comedy episodes and stuff, and you'd be like, what kind of show are you? This show, like I said, it's embracing the weirdness. It's letting itself be super creepy, but it's also like it's blending. You know, it's finding that balance somehow. Between the really silly quirky stuff and being legitimately kind of freaky, and
and it helps just in conception that John's a snarky character, so there's an inherent levity to the whole thing.
Yeah, and you get the sense that there's a little bit of this, like, is he that way because this world that he embodies is like this, or has he, in being a paranormal investigator, has he kind of like turned it that way a little bit himself? Because he's so mixed in with all that.
It makes a little bit more sense because John aged in real time, and he grew up in the 70s with like punk rock and things like that. Like, that's clearly an inherent part of his personality that isn't in a modern world. He's just that way as a character. I doubt we're going to get flashbacks where he goes to like an Offspring concert.
That would be really funny if he did that, and then he and I would have something in common because I'm a really big Offspring fan. But yeah, but I feel like.
Well, and there is a reference to that where he's debating Pistols versus the Ramones.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you're right. He is into alternative rock and stuff.
Well, punk rock.
Or punk rock rather. Yeah. So like, but I do feel like some of his like odd personality has to come from his messed up background.
Yeah. Which I'm like I said, in the comics the Newcastle thing happened earlier, so here he's got a history even before all of that. He's played around with this to some extent. Yeah, I do like that we are not getting this at the beginning of the story.
Yeah, me too. I feel like we're watching. I feel like I'm reading a comic that's like a second or third volume.
It's a good jumping on point.
Yeah, it feels like this guy's been doing stuff before, and obviously he has, but like it's not another origin thing, and they kind of just drop you into his world, but at a place that makes a lot of sense, a really logical place because the status quo's changed a lot, and obviously I feel like I'm at just the right part of the story, because now the demons are coming out. So, I mean, that's when you want to watch, you know, that's when it gets really interesting. I got to the end of the episode and I said, how in the world does not everyone know now that there are demons and stuff? Right? Because you had all that, I mean, like all the power went out, and you had all that stuff on top of that roof and stuff, and like in our modern day and age, I don't see how nobody captured any of that on film. So, like, because I kept looking for a mention.
You lasted 10 seasons on Smallville?
But I kept looking for. I just feel like this show is a little smarter than doing that, and so what, I'm thinking, like, I was watching that, going, was there any kind of a mention of anything that Constantine or somebody else did to make it, or like the demon to make it to where nobody could see it? There's no mention of anything like that.
Well,
that I saw.
It probably helps to some extent that it will probably for Atlanta be an isolated incident. It's just. I mean, because there's nobody else on that roof.
Okay, so that means that we can do 50 episodes, Eric. We can do an episode in each state. They're all isolated incidents, and then we have to go to some other country after that.
Well, I mean, there's multiple major cities in states.
I think I know. I think it would be.
You could get at least 3 episodes out of Texas.
I think it would be. One in Rhode Island. That's about all you got there. I really feel like it would be cool, and I doubt they'll do this, but I think it'd be cool if they did some stuff in the show where it gets to the point where so much supernatural stuff is happening that people just can't deny it anymore, and we actually have to deal with how it changes the culture. But I kind of doubt they'll go there.
Yeah, in the comics, it's kind of everyone John knows that this stuff exists, and they know that he's into it, but it's kind of like almost like a separate world. Like, I'm not dealing with that. You keep that stuff out of my life.
I like the score a lot, and I know I keep saying this with things, but I kind of hope that this show gets a theme song. And that it gets an opening titles, because NBC posted the theme song, and it's the it's the main score for the main tune for this thing that we keep hearing throughout the episode, and it's like what they posted is like the length of an opening title sequence, and it's really good, and I doubt we'll get it, but I kind of hope we do, because
TV shows don't really do that anymore.
But it has a really good score.
Yeah, it does. I really dig the music.
What else?
And I think the music might be different from the pilot. I don't know if the pilot, or the leaked pilot, I don't know if the leaked pilot had like a temp track or something, but the music I did notice felt different. But like I said, I saw the leaked pilot in May, so...
Yeah, I thought that the music complemented it really well. I just thought that the whole show, like I said, I feel like the whole show, the entire package, it really knows what it wants to be. I didn't think it had pilotitis at all. I mean, there's some piloty stuff, but I mean, like, it's a pretty decent standalone.
There's some piloty world building, but it as and I think what helps it is that he doesn't go with the girl at the end.
Yeah,
I feel like that actually helps it feel more or less like a pilot.
Well, it partly, and I don't know why that ended up happening, but it might end up being really advantageous for them, because that's the thing that you really expect. I mean, obviously, it's like, okay, we're setting up the main characters, and then you get to the end, and she's not one of them, and you're like, what? Really? Okay. And again, it makes perfect sense, because everyone that's around him ends up dying.
Which is something I hope they keep from the comics, because everyone around him does die. But there's a whole thing in the comics where they come to him as ghosts. And as the comic goes on,
oh wow,
he's got like a ghost army that shows up and like gives him crap. Like he has like an army of guilt that follows him.
I wouldn't put it past the show to go there.
Yeah, no, I'm really hoping. There's specifically a girlfriend that dies it's not in Newcastle, but there's a girlfriend that dies in the Swamp Thing story where he premiered, and she's the first ghost that comes to him in the first issue or second issue. It's one story. I don't remember which issue it's in, but I'm really hoping that happens.
Well,
they could totally have somebody having died at Newcastle, and have them come as a ghost.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm not 100% sure we haven't already seen that, because when Astra comes to him in that dream, it's really ambiguous.
Yeah, that's true.
And that could have been her real soul showing up to him.
Yeah. Well, and oh man, there's something else I was just about to say about the army of ghosts, and now I can't remember. Or about the one thing that I wish they'd done in this that they didn't, and because they're not keeping that girl, I wish they'd actually changed the ending. John has a tendency to sacrifice people. It's one of the reasons that he has an army of ghosts, because a lot of them are dead because of him.
Oh, weird.
And the opening storyline of Hellblazer is that a friend of his went to another country and found that there was this demon possessing this little kid, and he tries to free it, and he puts it in the bottle, but the demon's too strong for him. And at the end of the story, John tricks him into essentially letting the demon into his body, and he dies. And I kind of wish that we'd had something like that with the girl, since she's not sticking around. It's a big part of his character that he is very ends justify the means. He will sacrifice people. And I think that would have been nice to have established in the first episode.
The problem with that is, I feel like that's maybe the big place character-wise where this is deviating from that character.
Yeah, well, he's a little more altruistic than comic book John seems to be.
Yeah, and I think we do get
a couple of bits of that, like in the beginning, where he starts to walk away.
Yeah,
and he's like, "This is my problem."
Yeah, he tries to, but then he can't because he has that sense of responsibility, and
right.
and so that's the thing that makes him a little bit more endearing. I feel like for a more kind of mainstream sort of show, this if you did it the other way, it would lose people. I mean, I think this is the way you make it.
Really dark. For a network
but
show.
That's the thing, though. This is how you make it accessible and still let it be really dark. The world is dark, and he's a really dark character, but he's trying. And I just I really like that he's not a character to look up to, in that you don't want to be this guy, but he has that one really endearing quality of, no matter what happens, he can't help himself but to keep trying. And one of the things that I was really impressed with, and I hope that it keeps going throughout this, was something that the movie had a little bit, and this had in spades, and that is everything means something. You've got all these, like, signs and the fortune cookies and even stuff people say. Everything means something. And I picked up on a lot more of it the second time I watched it. The car rental place is called Endeavor. John is always trying. And he fails, and he's a character that the whole idea with him is every time he fails, he can't help but try again, no matter how many times he screws up, and that's that fortune cookie at the beginning. And then she gets her fortune cookie, and it's got nothing written on it, and she says, "Oh, I have no future," because everything's trying to kill her, but her name is Liv, and that's, like, really ironic. Everything means something in this show. I think it's really cool.
I'm hoping that sticks throughout. It's
super clever, and all that stuff kind of informs what's going on more, but here's the thing. From a narrative and kind of artistic standpoint, I enjoy that kind of stuff just because, like there's a lot of that in The Matrix. I enjoy that kind of thing just because it's fun to find, and it's fun to watch a thing a second time and pick up on things you didn't before. I like it more in a thing like this because they're not just there because they're cute and clever. They're signs. Like, this is a world that has signs, and
divination works here.
Yeah, and that's where all the occult stuff, because I'm not a big occult guy, and that's where it's really got me, is that like, the sign of good is actually trying to help him. And so, like when she reads when she brings the fortune back out, and, like, if she had stayed in the show, like as a regular, I kind of think that fortune cookie would keep telling her stuff. I kind of think, like, every couple episodes she'd pull that out and it would have something else written on it, because it tells her, trust him. But then everybody at the end is telling her not to, and so I found myself, where did that come from? Is it the angels, or is it the demons giving her that? I don't know. By the way, I should mention that this is the most refreshing thing I've seen in 2 years after reading this much Spawn. It's really nice to watch something this occulty that seemed to have a set of rules, and I understood. And when it didn't make sense, it came out and said, "Don't worry, it will." And I just I really enjoy. I think I enjoyed this more because I'm coming off of reading something that did similar things, but I think not very well.
Right. I didn't go through that, so I did not have that experience.
I'm sure you didn't. So anyway, I may be enjoying this more because of that. Did you pick up on a lot of the signs and stuff?
I picked up on some of them. I did not pick up on Endeavor. I
think that's on purpose.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I noticed that there was a lot of stuff, and I'm wondering if we might get, like, season stuff like that, where, like, when you rewatch the whole season a second time, you'll see things like that set up things, 4 or 5 episodes down the road. Yeah.
I think this is the point to talk about whether we think this show's got legs.
No.
I know, I'm worried about it. Well, when I say legs, I mean, if enough people watched it, yes. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like the setup. No, this show could go on for 6-7 years and be good all the way through, potentially. But yeah, I don't know if it's gonna make it. Now I will say that it got way better ratings than I thought it would.
Especially opening up against the World Series.
Yeah, I mean it did as well as Arrow's original opening, but it's also on a main network.
But yeah, I don't want to be cynical, but we don't like smart television, right? Like, as a people, we don't like smart television.
You think the show's too smart?
I think the show's too smart, and I think the show's too dark. I think that people like their safe zone. They like their supernatural. They like their grim. That whole thing. And this has become a popular genre, and I think this show might be too different and too. I feel like this show. There's a couple of things they did that made it a little mainstreamy. I think this is a really unmainstream show for network television. and I'm worried that that's going to bite.
But I'm
worried that what I like about it is going to be what turns people off.
But the one thing that they made really mainstream, I think, is they made John a relatable enough character. I mean, I kind of think some people might stick with it just because he's an anchor. You can latch onto him. I get him. You know what I mean? And he's not immediately. He doesn't strike me as immediately the sort of anti-hero that's like. That's like just there to be dark and angsty and like you like him because you're not supposed to like him. He's not that kind of character.
Well, one of the great things about John is that he's an incredibly broken individual, but he's not angsty about it. He can get bummed sometimes, but when John gets bummed, John gets really bummed. There's a whole storyline where his girlfriend left him, and he literally becomes a bum on the streets. Doing things that men should not do in polite society for beer.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But now, when you said that this show is too dark, I got to tell you that I got to say I don't know that it's any rougher than Gotham.
Yeah, but it's monsters. And I don't know because I don't specifically keep up with this stuff. I'm wondering if the religious thing might also work against it, because this isn't playing even like Buffy did and how Supernatural does. This isn't just weird stuff. This is specifically heaven and hell.
That's
angels
true.
And demons.
Again, that's why I'm liking it, because it makes sense in this.
Yeah, and I like that stuff, but shows have been pulled before because they hit a nerve with that kind of stuff. So I'm worried about that.
Do you think NBC is just the wrong home for this?
Hellblazer should be an HBO show.
Yeah.
It could be a Showtime show. It could be an AMC show. You can see it in the smoking. I don't think any of those three channels or any of those three networks would have made him not smoke. Which I read a thing by one of the producers today that said that as far as they're concerned, John is a heavy chain smoker. They're going to try and show it as much as they can. You'll see him stamping out cigarettes. It sounds like they are still in the process of negotiations, trying to get him to be able to smoke. And I would maybe bet that they'll get to let him be able to smoke if they do the cancer storyline. I think if they come in and they're season 2, we're going to give John cancer. I think that might be the thing where they might let them there's no glorification here. It's but I think John's a character, whether he knows or not, that has a death wish, and I think the constant smoking helps amplify that on some level subliminally.
Well, if you're not trying to make smoking look, and if it's obvious we're not trying to make smoking look cool, I just don't see the difference between that and anything else. And I mean, like you see drugs and stuff on regular broadcast television. But
I think the difference is that it's the main character and he's kind of a cool guy, and that whole thing.
But that's why I'm saying if they give him cancer, maybe that would be enough to do it. I wish if the network will go so far as to let him stamp out cigarettes and stuff, I sure wish that we had at least seen a cigarette in a pack or him stamping out or something in this, because when he started pulling the lighter out at the end, I was very confused. I was like, well, I know he's not smoking in this, so why does he have a lighter? And maybe they thought...
And not even like a cheap lighter, it's a Zippo.
Maybe they thought giving him a lighter was enough so that we'd go, okay, he smokes, we're just not seeing him smoke. But the problem is we spend so much time with him in this that I didn't buy they never lit up.
Well, I'm a smoker, and I have a Zippo.
Clearly.
Lighters don't work like that. You can't just... Here, watch. I'll show you. You see how lighter fluid is not pouring all over my hands?
Yeah.
I'll even undo the flap where you put the lighter fluid. See how lighter fluid's not going on my hands? It doesn't work like that. I don't know who scripted that, but that's not how lighters work.
Well, and it's always funny. It's always funny when you see something like that in a TV show or a movie where you're like, you would know that looking at the prop, so you'd have to go out of your way to make one that did that.
Yeah.
And then pretend like that's what they actually do. That's hilarious. On the other hand, as far as the more adult stuff goes, they ought to let him smoke because that's what the character does. I do think that, going back to the characterization, the stuff I'm really latching on to, I don't know would be there in an HBO show. Like, I kind of think that maybe some of the limitations for network TV aren't going to make them be more creative and make this guy more of the kind of character I want to watch.
Right.
But not necessarily more the kind of character that you want to watch.
I would be really interested in seeing you read the comics and have your reaction to John as the comic book character.
Because the thing is,
we should do Dangerous Habits at some point.
I would love to
read gets cancer.
I would love to read some. And of course that's where they must have gotten that part from the movie, because the movie's got cancer.
Yeah, the movie is very loosely adapted from that storyline.
Okay, because the whole he's got a death wish thing, I'm not immediately seeing that with this version.
Right.
Because, well, maybe up until the point that Manny gives him a clue that he might have a chance at going to heaven, and then at that point, I don't think he wants to die now. He's got.
Well, it's not that he wants to die. It's that he kind of maybe subconsciously doesn't think he's worth living.
Oh yeah, and he definitely has some of that.
Yeah.
Because he's constantly berating himself for the death of that girl and stuff. But then he's obviously going to go off and continue to do all the same stuff he was doing before.
And that is kind of his. Astra is his Bruce Wayne's parents, his Uncle Ben. That is the motivating factor of his life. And many people die after that continue that, but that's his origin. That's his thing. And I was really glad that they had all of that in here.
And I thought it played really well. Like I said, I enjoyed getting it from this and not knowing it before. And it's cool because anybody that watches this, I mean, it sounds like just talking to you, that anybody who watches this is gonna know more about the actual character now. And then it's
and what's great is that it's not right off the page, but it's a legitimate adaptation. You know, they're pulling bits and pieces from the comics and they're using them in maybe slightly different ways. But it's, there's a lot that I can point to and go, that is from the comics, that is this.
When I said this about Flash with Dan, I asked Dan, you knowing the Flash the way you do, after that pilot, if they continue in that direction, would you say that somebody could watch the show and call themselves a Flash fan? And he said yes. Would you say that about this show?
Yeah. Probably, yeah. There will be some stuff that will be interesting, because we know Zed's coming, and we know Nergal's involved, and there's a whole thing with a religious zealot group. I can't remember what they're called. They're like the Sons of God or something like that. I think if they're able to go there and do stuff like that, where they have insane, crazy, cultish Christians, then yes. Because there's a lot of that stuff in the comics. Hellblazer is a book that deals with a lot of real stuff. It's surprisingly a very political book. It's all British politics, but it's a very political book and things like that. And it deals with a lot of real world issues and things like that. So if they're able to touch on some of that stuff, if they're able to go to some of those darker places that are slightly more real worldy on top of all the darkness, then I absolutely think so.
Why do you think they went with the Constantine title over the Hellblazer title?
Probably because Hellblazer means nothing, and I think Constantine just makes more sense. The title for Hellblazer has never made sense. It wasn't even supposed to be Hellblazer. It was a last minute change. It was supposed to be Hellraiser, which makes way more sense, and then the movie came out.
Yeah, because like Hellblazer would almost imply that he just goes there a lot.
Yeah, no. The Hellblazer title has never made sense. So yeah, and Constantine sounds cool.
Yeah,
and it's the main character. There's no explanation either. There's no, what does that mean?
Well, I figure it's kind of probably name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what the movie was called.
Yeah, cashing in on the movie.
When that movie was first announced, because before the movie, I had never even heard of Hellblazer. I didn't know what that was. And
well, neither did I. That was my introduction.
Oh, was it really? I didn't know that. Okay. And then you went and looked at the comics.
I saw the trailer and was really interested in it. I didn't see the film in theaters. and I started getting into the comics, and then the film. I got to see the film on DVD.
That's fascinating. Okay.
So yeah, it was my gateway in, but not exactly.
I don't think I've ever had that where I've seen a trailer for a thing and then I've looked into its source material and then I've seen the thing later. When that movie was first announced, I was like, oh, so you're gonna make a movie about the Roman Emperor, and then it wasn't that, and so when you say you know Constantine sounds cool, yeah, but if you know your history, you're gonna think it's a Roman period piece, like.
See, based on the trailer, my first reaction was like,
well, I didn't think that looking at the trailer, of course.
Okay, well, looking at the trailer, my first reaction was like, oh, it's like a Heaven and Hell Matrix.
Which is it's kind of like that.
It's a little bit like that.
No, it is like that because it's like there's this girl that can like see through the reality and doesn't, and then is like, don't you want to know what heaven and hell is? I mean, it's that kind of thing.
Which actually brings something up. I really liked that they didn't make John an action hero like they did in the movie.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's the thing. John is a guy that can get the crap kicked out of him. That's part of why he's friends with Chaz. Chaz is his muscle. And I like that we didn't have...
He solves problems with spells.
Yeah, exactly. And conning his way through them and out of them. And I guess we haven't mentioned Demon John, but...
That was
Demon
cool.
John, he kind of represents everything we're talking about. That's where John could go. That's what John could be. And what I like is John is such a great character. It's not the dark mirror of John. It is a legitimate thing that John could be.
Well, and also potentially what he's on the road to becoming, because we've got an obvious road to hell is paved with good intentions thing going on.
Right.
So he's trying to do the right thing, and that's why I'm liking him, because there's this wonderful kind of ethical conundrum of, I don't know what that guy does, and like I don't know what you do in that situation, and so but if you condemn a whole bunch of souls to hell, you could turn into that guy. Let's go on to best moment, worst moment. What was your favorite moment of the episode, Eric? I had a hard time picking one. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff.
My favorite moment is actually in the beginning. I love him talking to the therapist, and the therapist's like, you mean a metaphorical demon? He's like, no, I mean a literal demon.
And then when he freaked out and went, so you keep telling me, I thought that was awesome.
Oh yeah, I think that's such a great introduction to the character. But yeah, that was I mean, there's so many great scenes in this, but that was probably my favorite.
We haven't talked at all about production values yet, and I had a really hard time not just picking that looked amazing scene.
Yeah.
I don't know how this show keeps up those production values. I don't see how. I mean, like, it just seemed like they put a whole season's budget into that. I mean, maybe I'm overstating it. I thought it looked really good.
Well, one of the things that is nice about Hellblazer is it does do a lot of grounded stories. You could have an episode that doesn't have anything really all that magical in it.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
Be out of tone.
Nearly every scene was a special effects scene.
Yeah.
And it all looked really good. It was like Heroes in that way, where like you watch the first episode of Heroes and you're like, holy crap, this show looks like it's been on forever. And then every episode has those production values. I hope this is like that. When they did, again, I'm gonna liken this to Flash. I said that I thought Flash could have been a like that production value, that could have been big screen Flash. This could be once again big screen Constantine. And
yeah, I don't think. I mean, the movie came out in like 05.
05, yeah.
These effects don't look any worse, if not better.
If not better. The one that, and this is why I'm gonna go two best moments. The reason why I'm going with this, or I'm talking special effects right now, is I could not help but write down the ground opening up underneath Liv.
Yeah.
That was amazing, and it looks fantastic. And
I really like the crater. I thought the crater was like a set for just one scene. Like, he walks down it. It's not like it's like green screen. They built some kind of crater.
They built something there, and I don't know how much of it they built, but they built enough that it looks like it's there.
Yeah.
My other is the light bulb moment. cracked me the heck up. When he's like, just the whole sex on a roof thing I thought was really funny. Like, you're gonna pay me this much just to have sex on a roof, and then he's like, and then he's like, let me know if that was so weird and absurd. Let me know if this light bulb, it's not screwed into anything. Hilarious.
Well, and that's the kind of thing they did a
So
lot
funny.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like this weird just trinket, and then it's just like, no, this will do something. I'm not gonna explain it to you, but it'll do something.
Yeah, you don't understand it at all. But I thought this went even far further than the movie did. Like, I'm really excited if that's the show we're getting. And again, you mentioned the Doctor Who thing. I wrote that down in my notes and thought I was so cool for coming up with it, and then you said everybody else has said that, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But think about it, like, okay, it looks like he's going to have a female companion, then he doesn't end up having that, but then, like, he's British, and he's weird, and he knows about how everything works, nobody else knows, and he doesn't like to tell anybody anything about himself or anything, and then he has, like, a really weird, old-fashioned vehicle that he goes around in. I mean, yeah, it's occult Doctor Who. There's still a part of me that almost wishes the BBC had gotten this.
Yeah, that would have been fantastic.
Oh, I don't know if they would have let him have cigarettes there either.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if somebody let me know if, especially our English viewers, because they have an aversion, or they always used to anyway. They always used to have an aversion to, like, fire in things, and I don't know if that extends to cigarettes.
They have some weird censorship things. I think still you're not allowed to show things with nunchucks.
Really? And
yeah,
I'm not trying to be funny when I say that. I just don't know.
Look up Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, because you couldn't say ninja in anything that was kid shows.
Right.
And it's the Ninja Turtles opening theme. Look up the theme song. It's cut so you never see Michelangelo's nunchucks.
That's so weird. Let's go on to worst moment. Did you have one?
I didn't.
I did, and it's really small. It's minor, and it's interesting. You alluded to it earlier. Chaz gets out of the car the first time we see him, and he's moving in slow motion for no reason.
It's Chaz.
I don't understand. Yeah, but I don't know anything about that. Now, the only Chaz I know was played by Shia LaBeouf. Like, so I don't know anything about this character, and like he gets out and they play it like here's this big major character. They didn't play Constantine like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's the main character of the show, and it's not like the first time you see him, he's like, I'm moving in slow motion because I'm such an important character. I didn't understand it. I was like, is he moving in slow motion because we're supposed to be surprised to see him and he's a major comic book character, or like, why are we doing that? I don't know.
Oh, you know what? I do have a worst moment.
And I don't mean to complain about things just because they're in slow motion. That was just one that I did not understand why it was done like that, and it was a really weird entrance to a character, I thought. And there's a lot of really like cool, strange editing and directing choices, and again, that's another thing I haven't mentioned yet, but I thought the directing in this episode was really cool. There was a lot of really interesting counterintuitive choices, but they worked for this material. That was one didn't quite think flew. What? Okay, what is yours now that you have one?
It's another like weird not inconsistent. It's a weird thing that I didn't understand. When Manny freezes time, he pops a raindrop, and then all of the raindrops. I don't understand why.
Maybe he just has control of the weather, Eric.
But John does it. John pops it.
Oh.
And he's like, well, that's new. And then all of the raindrops, like John knew that was going to happen.
Well, maybe Manny made it happen for no good reason. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know what that's about. And I was confused by that too, because when he did that, I didn't think of this till just now. When he did that, I thought, oh, he's made time start moving normally again.
Yeah.
Then everything was still frozen.
Yep.
It's like somehow you stopped the rain for, yeah. Have you ever seen the rain? Anyway, let's go on to quotes, Eric. I had a bunch, man. This thing was filled with quotable material. What was your favorite quote, sir?
I picked the scene. It's the same scene. That's my favorite scene. And there's kind of a callback joke to it, and I didn't think the callback joke worked as well. But when he says master of the dark arts, he goes, master. Does that say master? And she changed to petty dabbler. There is so much character in that line about someone who clearly thought he knew everything and has learned that he doesn't know anything.
And now he's really self-deprecating, and I mean, like, he's confident in his skills, but he's got this huge insecurity thing going on.
Yeah, no, I thought that was such a character-defining line.
But I even liked the callback when he said, "I'm getting new ones made," because he's not the same guy he was before he got that girl killed.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, that was wonderful. I had that one written down too. Like I said, I had a lot. My favorite, as I said earlier, is if you're not confused, you're not paying attention. I think that's a really important line for the whole show, but I also thought it was kind of fun. Impatience, psychic disease of the 21st century.
That's a great line.
A really good line. I agree. I agree with you, John Constantine. It's a fine line between watching over and stalking.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. And I thought like I said earlier, the fortune cookie, failure is the opportunity to do better next time, sets up the whole show.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
That's the series. That's what he's going to keep doing. It's the opportunity to do better next time. That's the optimism of the show, if it has any. And what's really interesting, and once again, I wondered where that came from. Was that a fortune cookie, or was that somebody giving him that, or
was the magic fortune cookie?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, because hers was, so yeah, I don't know. Now, importantly, none of these are actually fortunes. They're more like advisory statements, or just wise sayings.
Well,
Confucius say.
You've been to a Chinese buffet or a Chinese restaurant. Fortune cookies are never fortunes anymore.
Every now and again they are. Every now and again I get one, and it's like you will achieve happiness as soon the next time you back out of your driveway or something. And yeah, I've never had one say that. And
you will experience universal enlightenment the next time you back out of your
driveway. So weirdly, we have to put Liv in the guest star category.
Yeah.
Which is just so bizarre.
Well, what's kind of interesting is, at this point, we don't know who and who isn't. His friend, I can't remember his name, he is from the comics. The friend with the glasses, he could be a reoccurring character. I mean, he probably will be a reoccurring character. He's part of the Newcastle crew. We assume Chaz is going to be in every episode. We don't know that. Same thing with Manny. Like, I don't know who are the guest stars and who isn't. The only characters we know for sure is John.
And I'm sure if you looked into production and stuff, you could know. But just watching the show,
yeah.
we can't tell right away. Yeah, she was played by an actress named Lucy Griffiths, who's been, looks like the biggest thing she's been in recently is True Blood. But she goes back to 06. She's done some stuff.
She was cast as a co-lead, and then she was bumped down from that.
Which, well, I mean, maybe she left too. I mean, I don't know. We haven't looked into it, but
and she's not bad. She's good.
I thought she was fine. I was excited to see Harold Perrineau. I always really like him.
He does look an exceptional amount like a young Rachel Weisz, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. So the guy who plays Manny, Harold Perrineau, he's obviously been in. Oddly, we were talking about The Matrix earlier. He's a major character in Reloaded and Revolutions, and
that's where I know him from.
And also Lost. He was a major character in Lost.
I know him from there too.
Yeah, when I was tweeting for this show, I couldn't help but write Walt. But yeah, I really like him.
So there's got to be a character named Locke in this, right?
Well, and then of course the guy with the glasses is also a major character in Lost.
Oh, is he?
And yeah, he's the I forget his name right now. It's not coming to me. The character name, but he is the son of the scientist lady who knows about the time travel, and he's like a major character. And I'm expecting to see lots more Lost alum. We've got 2 major Lost characters in this. It seems like this is the show that Lost alum, because it's NBC, are going to that haven't done much lately. So that's kind of fun.
Maybe we'll get to see Sawyer again. He kind of dropped off the face of the planet.
I haven't seen him in anything in a long time. Yeah, I wonder what he's doing right now. Not
He's probably not
very-
recording a
very-
video about Constantine.
No, it's 3 in the morning. He's probably sleeping. All right, let's go on to comic references. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff. The thing that surprised me the most, and you'll probably have some things written down that I wouldn't know because you know this character, but the big thing I could not believe we saw was the Dr. Fate helmet.
Yeah, I want to say there's a rumor that he's going to show up. What I love about the Dr. Fate helmet was the line that accompanied it, where he goes, "You better put that down before it puts you down."
Yeah, I was like, wow.
They definitely said that there are going to be other DC Universe characters. I think the Spectre is confirmed as going to be showing up.
Wow, I can't believe they're going. That means they're likely to do something akin to Justice League Dark if the show goes long enough.
Yeah, probably, or at least have like a Smallville-esque, where like they had that mini Justice League in the, was it halfway through season 6? The season Green Arrow shows up in.
I gotta tell you, we have got way too many separate DC universes on TV going right now. I'm not gonna be able to keep up with them all. It's gonna get crazy. Because obviously some of the characters they're gonna want to use in this are people that Arrow is likely to use too. I mean, really, we're gonna go back to Silver Age and Golden Age characters?
Jim Gordon showed up in Arrow.
Yeah!
In the Spectre.
I was totally floored by the Dr. Fate helmet. I never expected anything like that in this show. Because, I mean, it's not a superhero show. And so it's cool they're going to do some stuff like that. And I don't expect it to get superhero-y more than occulty. There's a lot of good cross-pollination there. Obviously, the Master of the Dark Arts card I've seen in comic books.
I'm really hoping that we get Etrigan. That's my big hope.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Well, this would be the best place for him. I mean, like, I don't know. There's no reason
he's not going to show up in Gotham.
In Gotham, well, I mean, he could. I'm not putting much past that show right now. After we got, because I didn't think they'd do anything akin to superpowers either, and then they did. So I don't know. But anyway, other stuff, and also that pyramid symbol with the eye of Horus. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
And stuff. What
that's
other?
Just a common occult thingy.
Are there other things that you saw that I didn't see?
The big one that I caught is at the end when we see all the drawings and paintings. A couple of them are like classic Hellblazer comic book covers that are redrawn in a different style, looking like the actor.
I thought that whole thing was really cool. Now, you knowing the comics, do you have any guesses as to who that character could be?
I don't.
Okay.
I assume it's Zed because they've said Zed is going to be a character, and I think she might be an artist. She's only in like 4 or 5 issues. She's like his first like love interest. I'm
gonna do my very best. I'll just say this now, to not make any Power Ranger references when she shows up. I will do my level best. I'll work really hard at it. My first thought with the drawing was, I always think it's classy to call back to your roots like that. I love stuff like that. My second thought though was, I hope this doesn't go to Heroes.
I don't think it will, because it's all John, and except for the one that she's drawing, it doesn't specifically seem to be an event.
Or necessarily premonitions about the future, but I would assume some of those are.
It's almost more like a psychic connection to John himself.
Predictions and hopes. Obviously, like I said, the big one is who's drawing that at the end. Will Liv come back? And will we ever get anything like Justice League Dark? So I've already kind of talked about all my stuff. Will we ever see John
Smoke?
Will we ever see John Smoke? That's a good question. But if we ever do, you can at least come to Constantine discussions and see Eric Smoke, I suppose.
John Smoke, of course, the brother of Felicity Smoke.
It's spelled different.
I know.
that has an A in it.
But see, I'm not typing.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
speaking.
Eric, did you have any other predictions, sir?
No. Any predictions I would have would be based on the comic book stuff. So, like, I could make predictions on what's going to happen with Nergal, but, you know, it's kind of cheating.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you not telling me too much. I mean, feel free to say whatever you want to, but like I said, one of my favorite things about the show is I'm getting introduced to this world, and it's a world I don't know, and it's a world that I am instantly falling in love with. So, I don't know. I thought this was really, really, really solid.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is a great pilot.
Let's one day.
And I do hope that the show takes off and gets to be something.
Yeah, like I'm with you. I don't know that this makes it past a season.
Yeah, which will be really disappointing. My heart's been broken by a couple TV shows before, like the Dresden Files. It seems to be all the kind of occulty shows I like are the ones that don't make it.
On the other hand, even if it gets canceled, if everything they make is really good, I'd rather have gotten to see it than never get it at all. Because this feels really fresh to me. I mean, it's funny. I feel the same way about this that I did about Flash. I know I've likened this to Flash already. In that there's nothing else like it on, and it just feels really, really fresh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trivia questions. Eric, would you kindly give us your trivia question, sir?
Okay, my trivia question is, in the Dangerous Habits storyline, in the first issue of that storyline, John goes to the doctor for his cancer. The doctor finds something strange in his blood. What is it? It's vaguely tied to this episode, so it may actually become a future plot point, so this trivia question might be a spoiler.
I have a feeling you're going to have that problem a lot with this show.
Yeah. This is so much closer to the comics than Arrow is. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
I could spoil things and not even know it.
My trivia question this time is always from the episode is, what is the guard doing when he gets possessed by an evil spirit? He is busy doing something. What is it? That's my question. And if you think you know the answer to either of these trivia questions, go to geekvolution.com, go to the contact page, and send us a message. And whoever gets it right first, we will mention in the next episode. As I always like to say, when you go to the contact page, if you've never done that before, you don't have to log in or anything. Just put your information in, send it there, and make sure in the name section, if you want your YouTube channel to get mentioned, that you write your YouTube channel and not your actual name. But feel free to put whatever you want to in there. Eric, I'm really...
I could cheat and answer all my own questions.
You could, but that would be really dumb.
I can actually go do that now before you even post the video.
But why would you do that? No, then I'll get it from you, and then I'll be like, well, that must have been Eric, because I haven't posted this yet. It doesn't make any sense.
Feel better?
It doesn't make any sense.
Feel smart?
Yeah, yes. This show makes me feel smart. This is a really smart show for TV.
I'm never the first person to answer a question. Maybe this time I will be.
Eric, I'm really excited this show is on. It's going to be fun to get to talk about this kind of thing with you.
Me too. Well, and it's something very different for you and I to talk about.
Yeah, very well. And again, this is not my usual bag, and suddenly I'm like, I really like this. So yay!
This is like 15-year-old Eric's perfect bag, and I've kind of moved away from a lot of that stuff, but Hellblazers kind of sticks with me. I didn't keep reading Spawn, surprisingly enough.
Well, your brain will thank you. So I have to say that also my wife, for whatever reason, she surprises me with things sometimes, was a really big fan of the '05 movie.
What did she think of that?
That is a movie that every now and again, maybe I've told you that every now and again she's like, we've got Captain Logan, because my wife calls me Captain Logan. We've got to sit down and watch that movie, and she really liked this, and is gonna keep up with it with me.
Cool.
Week to week.
It's Constantine and Dr. Horrible, right? Those are the two movies that she's just like, we need to watch this.
Dr. Horrible is one of them. Sin City is one. Weirdly enough, she loves that movie. That she wants to go back to all the time. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks always for watching. Sure appreciate you. We'll see you again next week. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.